Okay, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
OneNote page? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So today we will start with just a moment. What is called as a peak detector. Okay. In fact, it's a very simple application. So what exactly does a peak detector do? It will monitor the input signal and hold the output voltage at the peak level. So this is a very interesting thing. Okay. So let us have a look at the basic peak detector. So what is our circuit supposed to do? Your circuit is supposed to, if you are having this as your circuit, if this is the input signal, the output value, so if it is something like this, so in that case the output will be held to the peak value. Okay, so this is the peak that it's going to detect. Okay, if you look at the basic peak detector, it is a very simple thing, and we will very soon realize that it resembles something which we have already done before. What does this resemble? What does this resemble?
Low pass filter.
It's not a filter. You have a diode here. So basically half wave rectifier and then a filter. If you have studied that, if you remember that. Okay. So conventionally, when we have the input signal as an AC signal, for example, like this, the output would be something like this, and then this is held. All right. So negative peak is clipped off, and only the positive peak, and again the peak. So it keeps the value of the output like this, the peak. Okay. So let me put it in a better way. With the correct polarity of the signals. So if your input is something like this, in that case, so it should follow the same thing, and then hold the value here like this. All right. What do you say? Will it be like this? Yes, of course it will be like that. But don't forget that there is a diode drop. So the peak value will be less than, the output value will be less than the peak value with one diode drop. So it will be something like this. Actually. So this is the forward voltage drop of the diode, and your output will be Vp minus Vf. This is the value of Vp. Okay. So technically speaking, guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the point here is that we can have a simple peak detector with this small circuit, but it suffers heavily from one problem, and that is the output voltage is peak voltage minus the forward voltage drop. Now, specifically when your input signal itself is very small, so the peak is, let us say, 1 volt peak. 1 volt peak minus 0.7, it is degrading the output. Okay, so we have to think of a better alternative, and using operational amplifier you can do that. In fact, we can use the peak detector with a precision rectifier. So a peak detector, we've already seen what is a precision rectifier. So peak detector using precision rectifier. We have already seen or studied precision rectifiers. Okay, so what will be the circuit? Let me complete the circuit first. Remember that it is an inverting peak detector. So the polarity of voltage across the capacitor is going to be negative for a positive peak. Then you know what is this. So this is your output voltage. Call this as C1, D1, D2. This is R1, R2, and R3. So we have Vi over here. So in this scenario, again, if I try to find out what is the output voltage, it will be something like this. And then the value will be held constant. So this VO is minus Vp. This is your Vp. Okay. What is the role of this guy?
Yes, sir.
What is the role of this stage? Call this as A2, call this as A1. What is this circuit? Again, voltage across this will be having this polarity. So what is the role of A2? Can anyone tell me? Guys,
Sir, can you repeat the question? You were not
what is the
audible.
role of A2? This particular circuit. What is this circuit basically?
Sir, your screen is frozen. So,
Sorry?
sir, your screen is frozen.
Screen is frozen.
Well, now it is okay, sir.
No, sir.
Are you able to see what I am writing right now? Guys, right now I am not writing anything. I am just asking you. Do you see the mouse cursor?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
what is my question is, what is the role of A2? What does this A2 comprise of? What is this circuit? What is this circuit called as? This one. Come on guys, we have done this so at such a length.
Sir, voltage follower.
Yes,
Voltage follower.
exactly. It is called as a voltage follower, or also we call it many times as a buffer. So what is the what is the use of this voltage follower or buffer?
Impedance matching for impedance
Yes,
matching.
it has got a very high input impedance. Very good. So if it has got a very high input impedance, what will happen?
It will
Or
reduce
what?
the loading effect.
Yes, it actually reduces the loading effect on the C1 and rather prevents C1 from getting discharged quickly. We are supposed to hold the value, no, to the peak. So this
Yes, sir.
buffer will prevent that from happening. That is the discharge of the capacitor, and so the value stays at the peak. Okay. Now capacitor C1 is called holding capacitor. And obviously it is charged by this A1. Of course, when D2 is on. Okay. The other thing, A1 comprises only of the precision rectifier. That's all. Or basically you can say it's a precision half wave rectifier. Okay. Then making R2 greater than R1, we can have the desired gain. So if I want to have a gain, I can simply manipulate the values of R1 and R2. Obviously, this is going to be an inverting amplifier like gain. So I can set the gain with R2 and R1. Remember that the output is inverted. So we have the polarity of the capacitor C1 shown like that. Okay. A2 is a simple voltage follower. And as I said, it prevents.
Buffer.
Why? Somebody would argue, if I want to keep the peak value like this, C1 should be very large. But this is not supposed to be a rectifier. Okay? Why should C1 be small? Can anyone tell me that? It's common sense. Yes? If your signal is something like this, okay, so I'm supposed to detect the peak at this point, the peak at this point, the peak at this point, and this point. If I keep a very large value of, if I use a very large value of capacitor, it will get charged up to this peak value and it will never change the output. So you will miss out these peaks. Are you able to understand that? Guys, at the same time, the
Yes,
capacitor
sir.
should be charged quickly. The capacitor value or the capacitor should be charged quickly so as to follow these rapid changes. So I have a limitation on restriction on the value of C1 that it should be as small as possible. Okay. Diode D2 should be low leakage device. So diode D2 should have very low leakage. What do you mean by the leakage? That is a reverse saturation current. Because when this diode is off or reverse biased, we should not make we should make sure that this capacitor will not discharge like this.
Yes, sir.
So its reverse leakage or leakage should be as small as possible. So that is one more requirement. So D2 should have a low leakage. Again, C1 should also have a very low leakage dielectric. Again, what is this low leakage dielectric? Remember that the capacitor model, if you have ever seen the capacitor model, we may have discussed it earlier. The capacitor model is something like this. So this is actually the lead resistance. This is the lead inductance. That is the inductance which is offered by the physical pins or leads of the device. This is the capacitor and this is called as the leakage resistance. So basically what happens is that even if the capacitor does not have a discharge path, there is some current which leaks, okay, which actually discharges the capacitor. All right, you must have heard that there is a self leakage in case of capacitors which are kept for a longer duration of time. The charge actually leaks across it and discharges the capacitor. So this R leakage should be very high. Ideal capacitor will have R leakage as infinite. Okay, but because of this dielectric properties, there will be some discharge path, though this resistance will be very large, or we can say that we have to choose a capacitor with low leakage dielectric. Okay. If the acceptable holding voltage error is 1%, then the maximum capacitor discharge voltage is calculated as 1% of peak value. It simply means that if you make sure that, okay, I mean, if you accept the error, or there will be error. So if you accept that the error is only 1%, and if it is acceptable, then I can always make sure that the discharge voltage is calculated as 1% of the peak value, peak voltage of voltage, input voltage. So I can write down an equation for C1 as ID into the holding time TH divided by change in voltage. This capacitor equation should not be new to you now. And we can find out the required maximum output current, okay, of A1. So required maximum output current of A1, because A1 is going to charge this capacitor, no? So this IO max is C1 into Vp divided by the rise time TR. Remember, this time it will be called as TR. Alright. Similarly, while selecting the slew rate, so slew rate for the operational amplifier SR is given as 3 times Vp by TR. So many volts per microsecond. This is specifically for the peak detector. And we can say that 3 times slew rate adds approximately 5% to rise time, which is acceptable. Okay. So actually, this is Vp by TR, but then this ensures that 5% addition is there to the rise time, which is acceptable. Okay, so this is actually the peak detector. We have another variant of this peak detector, and we have something like this. So it uses a voltage follower peak detector. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
I think there was a call drop. Okay. So we have another flavor of this peak detector. So this is another circuit. Now why this circuit is more preferred? Because the previous circuit that we have seen, it had a few problems. So problems with previous circuit. What are the problems? The very first should be obvious that the output peak is inverted. We don't want such a kind of thing. Number two, C1 discharges through D2. Again, due to the reverse leakage current, it cannot be 0, as well as op amp A2 bias current and R2. So we have neglected a few things, but you can see that does pose a problem. That first of all, as I said, it discharges, this capacitor discharges like this, it discharges like this as bias current of A2, and also it discharges through R2. So this is not a very good circuit, because the capacitor is not supposed to discharge anywhere. Number three, input impedance is not very high. Circuit input impedance is not very high. Can you tell me the reason? Why input impedance is low in this circuit? Guys? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes,
Guys?
sir. Yeah.
Am I audible or not?
Yes, sir,
Hello?
audible.
So please answer the question, why is the input impedance of the circuit less? Basically, what is the configuration that you are using here? Which type of configuration? Whether it is inverting configuration or non-inverting? Hello?
Inverting.
Inverting. So, and we already know what is the input impedance of inverting amplifier as compared to inverting, input impedance of non-inverting amplifier. So what did we conclude then when we studied those configurations? That the input impedance of the inverting amplifier is very, very poor. That of non-inverting amplifier is very high. So all these are the negative things for that previous circuit. And so we may not really have the correct peak value, or we may have an error in the peak value. In this circuit, however, all the problems, many of the problems can be addressed. So how can it be addressed? As you can see clearly that this capacitor C1 can discharge only through D2 and is bias current. So we have eliminated one path for unwanted discharge, and that is this path. This path we have eliminated, which is significant, because input bias current is a small value, fine. Diode reverse current is also a small value, that is also fine. This was a major component. The discharge through R2 was a major component which we have eliminated here. Alright? Have you understood that?
Yes, sir.
Then A2 is also connected as voltage follower. So naturally, whatever is the voltage VC, output voltage will follow VC, because this is a voltage follower. Simply. All right. So A1 and A2 operate as a single voltage follower. See this concept here. So how do they operate? See the output here. So this outer loop, it looks like a voltage follower only, no? Output is fed back to
Yes.
this resistor, this inverting input. So for this, I'll use a different color. If you look at this, this looks like a big voltage follower, isn't it?
Yes.
Are you able to understand this? So A1 and A2 together make a single, operate as a voltage follower, a single voltage follower. VC gets charged until it is equal to VI. So this VC will get charged until it is equal to VI. This is your VI. Now when VI is greater than VC, so when VI is greater than VC, output of A1 is positive. Are you able to see that? When VI is greater than VC, this output is positive and this diode is forward biased. This diode is forward biased. When VI is greater than VC, D2 is forward biased. And V1 and A1 behaves like a voltage follower. It behaves like a voltage follower, and then VC gets charged to VI. So C1 gets charged to the peak value, whatever is the VI over there. Now when VI falls below VP, that is a peak value. Biased, and capacitor charges to VI. Okay, this was the previous condition. Okay, now when VI is less than that peak value, we are calling this now as the peak value. Let us say that the capacitor C1 charges to the peak value, maximum value. Now when that VI falls below that peak value, what is going to happen? VC remains to that value, which we call as V peak, remains at V peak. The inverting terminal A1 is also at V peak. So the inverting terminal A1, because this is like this, it also remains equal to VP now. Now if that happens, see what is the situation? Inverting input is higher than the non-inverting input. So inverting input is higher than the non-inverting input. So what will be the output of A1? Will it be positive or negative? Yes? Becomes negative. And then D2 is now reverse biased. But D1 now is forward biased. Why is D1 forward biased? This is VP and output of A1 is negative. VP and this is negative. So this diode will be forward biased. D1 will be forward biased. Negative feedback via D1. This is a negative feedback, isn't it? So this loop closes. Negative feedback via D1 keeps the op amp from going into saturation. So once this loop is closed, A1 cannot go into saturation. So that is the function of this D1. All right.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And let us say closes the loop for A1 and prevents it from going into saturation. Obviously, it will be negative saturation. So that is basically how this particular voltage follower peak detector works. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you have understood this, shall we go for? Yeah, why not? Another important circuit called as the sample and hold circuit. Okay. And you will be pleasantly surprised that it is just a small modification of our peak detector. That is the voltage for our peak detector. Okay, here it goes. And a component which is known to you use a different color on purpose. What is this Q1? Basically, do you see that there is a lot of similarity between the peak detector and this circuit? Yes?
Yes, sir.
It's just a modified version of the peak detector, that's all. What is it supposed to do, by the way? It is supposed to detect the peak and hold it, but in the form of samples. Now, this circuit is what is very important for ADCs. If you want to convert from analog to digital domain, your signal, this is the most important circuit which does the task, which carries out the task of sampling and holding that particular value. Okay, so let me first of all write down about this. It is a modified version of peak detector. What is the modification? What is the change here? Can you tell
The
me?
MOSFET.
Yes, you have this NMOS device and it is driven with the help of a clock signal.
Clock.
This is a major modification. Okay, so let us write down about this and then we'll end the meeting. It is a modified version of peak detector switch in the form of NMOS device is included to alternately connect and disconnect C1 at the output of A1. Transistor, you can use a junction field effect transistor, but a popular one usage is using the NMOS device. Now remember, the NMOS device, you have a slight variation here. We are going to see that later on. See, the body of the NMOS is connected to ground. So a device whose body is not connected to ground will not work properly. Many times it so happens that the body, this is the body, isn't it? So you must have seen the symbol like this. You use this symbol, no? Many times, guys.
Yes.
So what was the
Yes.
implication here? The implication was that this is the body or the substrate, and it was connected. This was the drain, gate, and source. So it was implied that many devices, that the body or the substrate is connected to internally shorted to the source. But this transistor will not be useful. When I discussed MOSFET, I also said that there are some devices which are 4 terminal devices, as a matter of fact. gate, this is the drain, source, gate, and we call this as the body or the substrate B. So such a kind of device will be useful. This will not be useful. So I'm using this variant. Okay. Okay. Then D1 and D2 prevent op amp A1 from going into saturation. Specifically when Q1 is open circuited. That is, it is off. So if this was off, it was as good as or as bad as open circuit, isn't it? If Q1 is off. When Q1 is on, A1 and A2 act as a single voltage follower, just like the last circuit. C1 voltage precisely follows the input signal but now during Q1 on a time, so if we try to draw figure of the waveforms, I'm sorry. I think we have already crossed the time. Can we extend it for 5-10 minutes more, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir, but ma'am has already shared the link and she's saying
Okay,
it is
fine,
not-
fine. So I'll stop here. I'll stop here. We'll continue this discussion in the next lecture. Okay.
Sir, in the evening, do we have a lecture today?
Evening, I'm not sure at what time I will reach home because the timings are not yet known.
Okay, sir.
But I will let you know.